From the Siouxland News Studio, the Wayne State Basketball Coaches Show with Sports Director Jordan Furby.
And welcome into the Wayne State Basketball Coaches Show. We are joined by men's coach for the Wildcats, Brian Dolan. Coach, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having us back. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, the holiday break is over for the men's and women's teams. Now the work, you guys get back to work this weekend, or actually tonight, in fact. But let's talk about some of the games from last week for you guys. You guys had an exhibition game against South Dakota State that we had talked about, a good experience for the boys. But then you guys had one conference game that you had to get to before Christmas break, and that was against Augustana. Just talk a little bit about the game. Obviously a tough 77-55 loss. I know kind of a frustrating game for you guys as well, having the 31-23 halftime lead. Just talk a little bit about kind of maybe some of the positives you can take out from that game.
Well, I really thought in the first half our kids came out and competed, and we took the fight to Augustana, which was a step in the right direction compared to how it was earlier in the season. We played them at home, so that we came out, we kind of inserted our will on them. We were a little bit more physical. We rebounded the basketball. We pushed the tempo a little bit. We didn't make a ton of open shots. We made the right open shots, and then you know, we did a nice job of executing our defensive game plan, making them try to play more one-on-one and not let them play. They really like to penetrate and kick and draw help and things like that. And our plan was really to try to guard the ball without having to require some help. And for the most part, the first half it worked. And then the second half, it just kind of didn't really fall apart. They just came out and they inserted their will on us and played a little bit tougher than we did.
When they kind of caught, like I think we had talked about before, they kind of caught some a little bit of early momentum in the second half. You know, an 8-point lead is great to have in the halftime, but they just kind of came out right away.
They hit back-to-back, they hit back-to-back threes to start the second half, and you know, we stayed with them. I think it was tied with 11 minutes to go, and I think it was a 5 or 6 point game with 7 minutes to go. So the 22-point difference is a little not indicative of how close the game was. It was still a competitive basketball game down to the last couple minutes. So, and I thought that was good that Augie came out there and put the little run on, and our guys didn't fold the tents. They kept competing, kept battling, and they did a nice job of keeping ourselves in position to win the game. And Augie, you know, they just did a nice job at the last 2-3 minutes of the game, stretching out and getting the win.
And looking at the stat sheet and stuff too, you guys had 3 players in double figures, including Pat Kurth getting 10 points coming off the bench. That's always good to get. You know, your starters are going to get their points, but it's always good to see the bench points getting there as well. Because that sometimes can make the difference.
Yeah, PK's been playing well. He played well at South Dakota State too, I thought, and you know, he's done some good things here lately. He was out for most of the preseason with concussion. They just couldn't shake, so he's just now maybe getting into somewhat game shape, and so he's getting, you know, play more minutes at a time. You know, more than a minute or two. We can put him in there for 3 or 4 minutes. You know, he's got a nice touch around the basket. He's such a big body, and he really rebounds the ball well. So those are all things that are pretty good in a 5-man. And as he gets healthier as the year goes on and gets in a little better shape, hopefully we can get a little bit more production out of him night to night.
And now we'll talk about the game coming up tonight, this evening against U of Mary. But just kind of talking about now the second half of the season is kind of hard to believe that it's almost here after the holiday break. What's some of the biggest things that you're seeing with this team? I mean, I don't think we kind of agree that maybe they haven't hit their stride yet, and that still is a possibility where if you catch fire in late February and March, you know, who knows what can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's some certain things our staff and I have talked about over the break about, you know, 2 or 3 things maybe we need to do offensively and 2 or 3 things that we need to work on defensively and try to, you know, the old saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and try to keep it more simple for them because it's new to everybody, not because they can't comprehend it or they're not more intelligent enough to comprehend it, but it's new to everybody. They don't have that. It's easy to put 1 or 2 new guys in a group of 7 or 8 returners. Those 1 or 2 guys that will pick up on a little quicker. It's tough to put 12 guys out there in a situation where they don't know any of it. So slow it down a little bit on what we're doing. Try to get a little bit more detailed with them on a few things and try to do a few things well and see how that pans out for us.
Absolutely, and basketball's a game of momentum. Who knows what can happen when you guys get hot down the stretch? Absolutely,
and that's the other thing is they're learning, you know, how we want to do things, and they're learning, you know, it's a game of runs, season of runs, and we got to stop runs, we got to have our own runs, and I think hopefully we hit stride here. Hopefully we can put a run together, win a few games, and get some confidence.
Yep, and still plenty of season left.
Yes, there is.
Alrighty, well, still to come, we will sit down with women's coach Chris Kielsmeyer and talk about the Wayne State women's big win over Augustana. But coming up next, we will talk with Coach Dolan about the big game tonight against U of Mary. Stay with us.
Siouxland News presents the Wayne State Coaches Show on Fox 44.
And welcome back to the Wayne State Coaches Show. We're joined by men's coach Brian Dolan. Coach, the holiday break is now over. Maybe the excess pounds are going to start coming off from the holiday treats. You guys had a game at Minot State on Friday night, and then a big game tonight against U of Mary. 2 games, 2 conference games, getting guys back into the swing of things. Biggest things you're looking for tonight on the road?
Well, Mary's always a tough place to play. I mean, not only is the travel difficult, but they draw pretty well. They have a great crowd, great support. Coach Buddy does a good job with his basketball team. So, that's the first thing we're going to have to handle is the crowd because, even though it's out of school as well, last year we were in the same situation, had a great student section there. So we'll have to battle those elements a little bit and, we just got to keep going out and competing and doing the things that we've worked on every day in practice and our game plan for tonight's game, try to cut off the lane and make them have to hit jump shots and rebound the basketball and finish possessions, and those things are all going to be important. But I just like to see us continue to grow every time we step on the court, whether it's practice, shoot around, or game, and make sure that we compete a little bit longer each night. I mean, you'd love to have a team that competes for 40 minutes, but you got to compete for 20, 25, 30, 35 before you can hit the 40. So that's the main thing I'm always looking at when we step on the court.
And now, just kind of looking at some of the guys and stuff as far as moving forward this season, you've mentioned some of your senior leaders and everything. Is there any other guys that you're kind of looking towards that maybe can have sort of a breakout couple of games here now that the holiday break is over?
Dave Anderson, for sure, 6'8" kid from the Minnesota area. You can see his brain turn. Like, we watch film together, and he can see what he's doing. And I know he's not playing at the level that he knows he can play at. He's not playing at the level that we expect him to play at. He's not a kid that you have to get on to get him to play at that level. He knows. He totally gets what he's supposed to be doing. So he's gotten a little bit better right now the last week or so, but I just think there's something else in there in him. I think he could really step it up and start producing, not just scoring the ball, but he's a pretty solid post defender. He can really rebound the basketball. He can block some shots. He can do some things. So I expect to see his game evolve a little bit more and more. And then Jamie Pearson, a sophomore, he's gotten a few more shots up and points in the stat sheet the last couple of games, but I think he can do more than that. I think he can distribute the ball a little bit better. I think he can guard and defend a little bit better. But how today's day and age, I mean, the more he scores, the better he's going to feel about other parts of his game. So you just like to see that maturity come out of him, that when he's not scoring the ball, that he still defends somebody, can still get his teammates involved. So those are the two main guys I hope to see continue to get better every day and just watch their game flourish, because I know that they can do more than they're doing, and they know they can do more than they're doing, and they're frustrated by some of that, and which is a good sign. It means they're competitive and they want to get better.
Yeah, and then, you guys had one game last night. You got another game tonight on the road. It's good to get those road wins, too, because that can build confidence, and then you get to come home and play two more games and start to build that momentum.
The most important thing about road wins in this league is the odds are you're going to be on the bus for 10 hours after that Saturday game, so you want to feel good about those 10 hours. So that's the most important thing about getting a road win in our league is enjoying the ride home. But the road wins are good for confidence. They really are, and it brings the team together because, honestly, all kidding aside, they get to get on the bus and they get to feel good about themselves and kind of talk about this and that with the game on the way home. Because at a home game, they don't all go their separate ways, but they go in 3 or 4 separate ways. And so, a road win gets them together on the bus and lets them enjoy it a little bit and talk about, things that occurred during the game. So do a little bit of bonding. So there's a lot of positives to a road win.
Yeah, and it's that team chemistry that teams always start to build. And like we said, maybe the stride hasn't been hit yet, but if you guys start to put together a couple wins here and there, things will start to click.
Well, and that's definitely true with this team. They don't know each other very well just because there's a whole bunch of new guys, and the better they get to know each other, the more they get to trust one another on the court, the better off we're going to be in the long run. And I do think this team has a little run in them, so we'll see if they continue to grow together and get better every day, that we can hit that stride that you called.
All righty. Well, 6 o'clock is the tip-off tonight for the Wayne State men against U of Mary. Coming up next, we will sit down with women's coach Chris Kielsmeyer to talk about their big win over Augustana and the game tonight against U of Mary. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Wayne State Coaches Show. We're now joined by women's head coach Chris Kielsmeyer. Coach, holiday break is now over, as we mentioned with Coach Dolan. You guys picked up some big momentum heading into the break. A big win, top 25 showdown between yourselves and Augustana, a team that you guys had beat earlier in the year, and you guys picked up another 64-56 win over the Vikings. Big win, especially on the road up there in Augie.
Yeah, it was 2 nationally ranked teams that really wanted to win. A lot at stake. The conference standings, a lot at stake, really, on the national scene as well. But very proud of our players and how we played. I thought defensively we were as good as we've been all year. We held them without a basket for 13 straight minutes in the first half, which is incredible to do against anybody, let alone a really good basketball team like Augustana. Offensively, I didn't think we were quite as sharp as what I felt like we could have been. We left a lot of points out there. We didn't shoot the ball very well. We didn't shoot the ball from the three-point line very well. We missed 12 free throws. So we feel like there's a lot of things we can do better offensively, but overall, extremely proud of our players and just great way to go into the break.
Yeah.
We felt great about about things the next day when we practiced, and it was nice to be able to go home over Christmas and not really worry about basketball a whole lot because we're sitting in such a great situation.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, it wasn't really the highest of scores between you guys and Augustana, but it didn't matter. Great defense. You got really good outputs though from 3 players. Millie Nigling had 11 points. Ellen Hansen had a double-double of 11 points and 11 rebounds, and then Jordan Spencer, of course, led the way with 13. When those 3 are clicking, you guys, you've got to feel pretty good about the team.
Yeah, we continue to have great offensive balance, and really we feel like that's one of our best offensive weapons is the fact that we have so many players on the floor that can score at any particular time. And but we also feel like there's a lot of room for improvement offensively. We got to get our ball movement better. We got to space better. We just got to play more confident offensively. I felt like we were a little bit better offensively probably a month ago than what we were the last couple games out. So we understand that as a program. Our players understand that, and we're really concentrating on that right now, trying to get that better.
But as a coach, though, I know you always want, I guess a good offense is a good defense. Would you rather have a good defense, a better defense than an offense? Or, how would you like to see that?
Well, we want to win the game.
Yeah.
So however it takes to win, that's what we're about. And I was very happy that our defense was a lot better. I felt like going into that game, there was a lot of room for improvement defensively there, and we responded. Like I said earlier, we were as good defensively that night as we had been all year, and that really was just a collective group effort by all 5 players that were on the floor at the same time, and just felt like we were defending the way we're capable of. And so we want to build off of that going into tonight's game and continue to try to get better offensively and just hit shots. I think that we talk about how we need to be better offensively. Sometimes it just comes down just make the shot, make the play, and that's something that we have been very good at all year. We're shooting 48% from the field for the year, so there must not be not too much wrong with our offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and just a little bit too. It seems like no matter who's really on the floor with you guys, I think earlier this year you guys have had, I think 7 or 8, maybe even more players that have hit double figures. So it seems like regardless of whoever the 5 ladies are on the court, you feel confident in that team that's out there.
Well, being able to play and win at a high level in the Northern Sun with our back-to-back games, you've got to have great depth. You've got to have players that can produce off the bench, and we're confident in all our players, and our players are confident in themselves, and they believe and expect to play well, and that's something that's exciting to coach kids that really believe that they have so much ability in themselves. And we never really worry about our depth. We know that we've got a lot of players that can play a lot of minutes, and we expect those players to play at a high level each and every time out. And that's the fun thing about coaching a deep team that's got the depth that we have. You just put them in and expect to get great results.
And it's always nice too because it makes you that much tougher to defend
and
prepare for.
Well, no question. We just confidence. I think that I always say a talented team and a confident team is a really dangerous team, and I believe that our players have that confidence in themselves right now, but they also have that in each other. I know that they believe whoever's on the floor can play and produce at a high level, and that's an exciting thing.
All righty, well, confidence is sky high going into tonight's game against U of Mary. We'll get Coach's thoughts on the game coming up this evening after the break. And welcome back. We're joined by Wayne State women's basketball coach Chris Kielsmeyer. Coach, you guys have 2 games on the road this weekend. Last night you guys were at Minot State. Tonight you face a pretty good team in University of Mary. They're kind of had a couple tough games that they've played. You mentioned to me a couple of tough games against Minot State. Biggest kind of keys that you're looking for tonight's game. Obviously you want to try to keep that confidence that you guys got from the Augie game high going into tonight.
Well, the first thing, we talked about it earlier, in the Northern Sun, handling the back-to-back play. Being able to get on the road late Friday night after a game, get in the hotel room late, get up early Saturday morning for a shoot-around, be ready to play at a high level on Saturday afternoon is a challenge for every team. And if you want to be a great team in the Northern Sun, you've got to be able to handle that back-to-back. And so, that's the biggest challenge. The first, most important thing is to be able to be in a position to play at a high level when the circumstances say maybe you shouldn't because of the travel or lack of sleep or any excuse that you want to use. It's a big game for us tonight. We know that University of Mary's played well against us. They beat us last year, so we know that this will be a tough test for us tonight. But our confidence is at a high level, and when we believe that we should win, that's a dangerous thing. So we're excited to play tonight.
Yeah, you've been doing this for a couple of years with Wayne State, obviously. How is that kind of handling the back-to-back nights? Because a lot of bigger programs, even some of the smaller programs, you'll play on a Tuesday night, you'll play on a Friday night. You've got those gaps. You guys have to do it Friday and Saturday night. I got to imagine that kind of took a little bit of getting used to. But how do you kind of prepare the team to kind of bounce back that quickly?
Well, I like how you say that. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I've been doing it for 6 years
Yeah.
now, and I don't know that I have a great feel for it yet, because it is a challenge, and something I'd never gone through before as a coach before I got here. And so you've got to manage your players really well throughout the course of the week. You've really got to watch practice reps and make sure that it's not about practicing as hard and as many hours as possible or whatever. You've really got to have a good game plan throughout the course of the week and really make sure that you're protecting them and keep them fresh, not only physically but mentally. It's when you're on a bus for 10 hours, just to get to your first opponent is asking a lot from them. But by the time Saturday afternoon rolls around, you've asked a lot from your players throughout the course of the entire week. And you need to make sure you don't lose sight of that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the course of the early part of the week. So, it's just making sure that you have a good game plan and then follow through on it. And, part of it is also making sure that you play a lot of players a lot of minutes on Friday, so you don't have too many players getting too many high minutes and just wear them out. That's to be a great team. You've got to be a deep team, and we really feel like we have that. We've talked about that today a lot about our depth. So, we're excited about the opportunity.
And it kind of seems to me almost like a game of chess or strategy, because you have to. It's a whole week. It's not just two games. It's a whole week where you have to focus on, like you said, not playing too many players and not letting them get burned out, because it's a long week for you guys.
Yeah, when Sunday night comes around, we meet as a staff and we know exactly what we're going to do for the whole week, and practice reps. Just our itinerary is done, and we just. We expect all that stuff to run smooth, and sometimes it doesn't, but you do your best to try to make sure that you manage your players in a way where you keep them fresh all week, because Saturday afternoon rolls around. You got to have a lot from them, and to be able to expect and get a lot from them, you got to make sure that they're in a position to be able to do that. It's never just about it's a big game. You have to be ready to play. They've got to be able to have that from a physical standpoint, but as I said, just a mental standpoint as well. Be fresh and be ready to play.
It's a grueling schedule, and as the saying goes, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, it's a long season, and you always got to keep that in mind back in October and November as well. So it's just about trying to manage what's best for your players. You can't always maybe practice the way you want to practice. Maybe sometimes you got to practice a little bit less instead of a little bit more, and you always got to be aware of that as a coach.
Alrighty. Well, coming up next, Coach Dolan will join us back here, and we'll get both coaches' 3 keys to victory over U of Mary coming up after the break. And welcome back. Time now to get both coaches' 3 keys to victory tonight over University of Mary. Coach Kielsmeyer, we'll start with you. 3 biggest things that you're looking for your ladies to grab the victory tonight.
Well, number one, like we said earlier, handle the back-to-back. Anytime in the Northern Sun when you're playing back-to-back, you got to make sure that you're ready to play at a high level because of what has happened throughout the course of the entire week. Second thing is we've got to defend their inside game. Linda Murray is one of the best post players in the league, and we've got to make sure that she doesn't go off for a big night. Third thing, we got to get our offense going. We got to get better ball movement, space the floor better, and just hit shots and continue to get to the free throw line a lot and make sure that we hit those free throws once we get there. And just overall, just like what we've talked a lot about in this conversation, just play with the confidence that we've had all year. We know that we're a good basketball team. Go out and prove it.
All right, Coach Dolan, after the women are done, you guys will hit the floor tonight. Biggest 3 things for you guys to get the W over U of Mary.
Well, it sounds like a broken record on our end, but we've got to finish possessions, and that's on both ends of the floor. We've got to limit them to 1 shot and rebound the basketball, and then we've got to make open shots on our end. So we'll have good offensive possessions, good defensive possessions, but we got to finish those with making shots and getting rebounds. We've got to guard the paint defensively. We've got to make them shoot jump shots. We've got to keep the ball 15 feet and out, which has been a problem for us this year, and then executing our offense all the way around with the effort and the energy that it takes for our offense to be successful, for our offense to work. They haven't quite figured out the level of which they need to play at consistently to make it work consistently. So those are the 3 main keys, but those are our main keys most every night. So I've seen slight improvement in those, and if we continue to improve, then we'll continue to get better as a team as well.
And it's the last game for you guys on the road before returning home next weekend. Kind of nice to finish up the road trip that you guys have been on for the last 2 weeks. If you take out the holiday break, you guys have been on the road for a while.
Well, we'll be excited to get back and play in Rice. There's no question about that. We haven't been there in a couple weeks, so we'll be excited for those home games.
Alrighty, sounds good. Well, coaches, we want to thank you again for joining us again. Wayne State tips off tonight. The women will tip off at 4 o'clock tonight against University of Mary. The men will tip off at 6 o'clock, and that will finish up the road trip for the Wildcats, a long road trip that they have been on before returning home to Rice Auditorium next Friday and Saturday. Friday, they will play Minnesota Crookston, and Saturday, they will play Bemidji State. Coaches, again, we want to thank you for joining us. We will see you guys next week, and we want to thank you for joining us, and as always, go Cats. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Wayne State Coaches Show, presented by Siouxland News on Fox 44.